Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Reality. Throughout the history of my channel, I have covered varying topics of discussion relating to the paranormal. Currently I have created over 260 videos on this topic, which I am including all things odd under that title, such as aliens, ghosts, and cryptids. With each video, I provide a recorded history of the subject and try to piece together a full story based on the numerous and varying sightings. As many of you know, I normally remove my opinion on the topics since I just provide the story. I make it no secret that I don't always personally believe a topic exists just because I make a video about it. However, today I am presenting something a little bit unique, albeit different. With our video, I'm going to be telling you about a handful of paranormal entities that I do believe exist, and in my channel's fashion, inform you on why I feel the way I do. So it is said, if I don't mention a certain subject, it doesn't mean I think it is fake. It normally means I don't have enough evidence to convince myself that there is no other explanation outside of it being real. So let's pull back the curtain and delve into the mind of Ben Miller. I apologize in advance. Let's start off with the big elephant, or should I say gorilla in the room, Bigfoot. As I have stated many times over that I will not cover this topic as its own video, it does not mean I don't believe it exists. My reason for lack of coverage is due to there being so much information about it available, and dare I say, shoved down the throats of the public, that I really have nothing new to add outside of unique sightings or a recent viral video. In the handful of sightings that I have personally had, I honestly can't say I saw a Sasquatch. I saw something like it, but I can't say it was one. Many skeptics rule this cryptid out on the basis of so many people being out in the forest with recording equipment, and no one has provided convincing proof. Not to mention the group of people who make it on the news with their fake evidence, and it in turn makes the cryptozoologist field look bad. I understand this way of thinking when it comes to the equipment and people being out in the woods, and I can't agree with it. However, my belief falls back on the various reports that aren't on mainstream media, the cryptid's history, and also the views of what many believe the creature actually is. Starting off with a bit more unknown is the theories about what type of being Bigfoot is. Many within the scientific community state that it could be a long-thought extinct primate known as Gigantopithecus, which stood between 6 and 10 feet tall, but is thought to have died out around 100,000 years ago. The only issue with this is that this species is thought to have only existed in Asia, so all the other reported sightings around the world wouldn't make sense. It is possible that they moved into other areas when the climate changed in Asia, but that is a big if. Other people view Bigfoot as a separate humanistic creature with their own language, ritual practices such as burying the dead, and a high intelligence. This is the most common theory and does explain why no bodies are ever found. The final theory still follows the previous, but is instead thought to be an alien, or at the farthest extremes, a being that lives in a different dimension outside of our own. I can't say much about this idea since I am unsure, but it would explain a lot. There have been reports of Bigfoot being sighted after UFO encounters, and some have been seen interacting with aliens. So, who knows? When looking at sightings and picture proof, it sort of bothers me. The only form of this that are shown are the blatant hoaxes, or ones that are highly bizarre. Any photo evidence that is intriguing and hard to debunk seems swept under the rug. I seem to remember a photo from Florida reportedly showing the skunk ape, but nothing more came of that. However, this image looks strangely similar to this one, which is the Gigantopithecus. Not to mention the multiple images from trail cams. No, let's give airtime to and focus on the Bigfoot suit in a cooler or the statue in a glass case. With sightings, there are a handful of unique ones, but the whole idea of reporting a sighting has been so stigmatized that even the most credible of witnesses stay quiet for fear of ridicule. I see this same way of thinking with my dad when it comes to UFOs. This is why I love being in the position I am, and where viewers are comfortable enough to tell me their stories, which they wouldn't share otherwise. My reason behind my belief of thinking Sasquatch is real is due to the long history behind the creature. Just about every culture around the world has their own version of Bigfoot, and those stories have existed since their very beginning. There are cave paintings, written primitive record, and just lore. It goes so far that many rule lore off as a cautionary tale, but when it comes to the Sasquatch, many of the stories started with them coexisting with indigenous people and being helpful. Those don't sound like stories made up to cause fear. I look at it this way: if a person is missing or feared dead, and there were half as many sightings and photos of the person being reported, it wouldn't be considered crazy to think that they were still alive. Bad example, I know. But many land-based animals thought to be extinct are found to be living in the forests every year. So, why not Bigfoot? Okay, let's move on. The next being is oddly enough the Jersey Devil, found in the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. This was one of those videos that I made where I started off thinking that was an interesting story, but a real flying demonic horse? Come on. After doing all my research, I am very convinced that there is something odd roaming around the forest in New Jersey. I won't sit here and tell you that I know what this thing is, but it is something strange. I am fairly certain that the lore of being born to a witch or being the devil's offspring was added for literary flair, as it does make for an interesting tale. However, stories of its existence were known since the early 1700s, but no one truly knows where it came from, other than the commonly referred to smudge campaign against the Leeds family. What changed my opinion on this cryptid was the varying reports of sightings, many of which involved groups of people. One report stated that it was seen on the roof of a couple of houses in West Collingswood, and when firemen showed up to deter it with a fire hose, it attacked the men and flew off. Another says a woman saw the creature attempting to eat her dog, and it flew off when she hit it with a broom. Officers at a fort saw the creature fly by and took a shot at it with a cannonball. A trolley car full of passengers in Haddon Heights was attacked by the devil, leaving dents and scratches in the roof. The people who saw it said it resembled a flying kangaroo. Not only this, but it was reported that workers refused to come to work at the factories where they had to walk through the Pine Barrens, for fear of the Jersey Devil. Many skeptics claim sightings were the result of mass hysteria or people seeing a sandhill crane. So, we have reported sightings from military men, firemen, and a whole trolley car full of people, and it is thought to be mass hysteria. The sandhill crane theory doesn't fit either, since if you are a local to the area, you'll know what a crane looks like. It does seem to be the going explanation for flying cryptids anymore, though. Again, I don't know what it is, but too many credible reports are out there to say it doesn't exist. Many of those reports are strangely hidden, such as the trolley car incident and the firefighters. Our next topic will be fairly short, due to me being very vocal on the subject in previous videos, and that is ghosts. I 100% believe that those spirits exist, and that they can come in many forms. Here's why I include a lot of beings, since around the world they can be known by many names. My view boils down to whether they are called a banshee, a jinn, a shadow person, or just ghost, they all have their merit. Granted, many stories add interesting characteristics for the sake of lore, but there is normally a bit of truth in there. I personally have seen many ghosts in my life, so it sort of makes it hard to deny their existence. I do agree with skeptics that some reports are based on natural things, such as lack of sleep, high electric fields, or paranoia, but that's not the case all the time. Personally, I think ghosts fall into the Bigfoot category, where stigma is in place to keep people afraid of talking about what they saw. Although, this is a strange case, where ghost sightings are almost more accepted than any other type, excluding UFOs. I feel this is an odd case, where there being multiple TV shows on the topic have made it acceptable, while normally it does the exact opposite. At work, I am open about my channel's topic, and most all people claim to have had a UFO sighting, but only after realizing I won't ridicule them do they tell me about their ghost encounters. I'll jump to another topic, and that is aliens, since I think they are real as well. I honestly have zero proof behind this other than the stories. Not to mention that I firmly hold on to the theory that we can't be alone in the vastness of space. When it comes to the belief in aliens, there are two camps of thought, with the second being broke down into separate groups. The two camps are that you don't believe or that you do, as usual with the paranormal. The second group breaks down to that you believe that they have never been to Earth, that they have been to Earth, and the third option, that they came from Earth and left, i.e. a previous advanced civilization of humans before us. I can see the merit to all three, and while I can see the advanced civilization theory, I fall into that they simply visited or are visiting Earth. That idea doesn't include the thought that they visited and stayed. I may need to make a graph for this. Not to don a tinfoil hat, but it seems as of late the idea of aliens being real has been alluded to more and more freely from top officials. This goes with many astronauts and highly regarded scientists speaking openly about the topic. I think it is only a matter of time before the idea of us being alone can no longer be believed. My final topic should not come as a shock to anyone who watches my channel: the Mothman. I honestly don't know what it is about this cryptid that fascinates me so much. When I heard it was going to be represented in the new video game Fallout 76, I knew I had to buy it. Speaking of which, I need to cover the grafted monster. This creature almost took the same route as the Jersey Devil for me, where it seemed unlikely, but now it is one of my top plausible cryptids. There really is no one piece of evidence that points a finger at it being real, but its mystery and worldwide appeal seem to draw me in. It now is being seen everywhere, and the results all end up the same, with something terrible going wrong. It feels like it has moved into a category above cryptid, where it is like an interdimensional species. Many feel that they take on a watcher presence, and that they are here only to warn us of impending doom, but at the same time, don't want to interact with us. I keep saying they, since I do believe there isn't just one. Again, I have no real proof of this, and none of the sightings themselves are particularly thought-provoking. However, I am infatuated with this creature. People of Point Pleasant, I would love to hear everything about the Mothman. I had a couple that I wanted to include on this list, but couldn't since I am still on the fence about them. Namely, the Wendigo, Chupacabra, Dogmen, and lake monsters. I have read and have personally heard many people's stories on each of those and believe them. Yet there is just something that keeps me wary of those topics. The Chupacabra being the biggest one for me, since at one time I believed 100% in them. I know there is something out there causing strange marks on livestock and sucking their blood, but there is a whole menagerie of cryptids that claim the same characteristic. I think with the ones I mentioned, they fall into my Nessie category that I like to call the I want to believe list. Again, if I didn't mention the cryptid or spirit, it doesn't mean I don't think that there is something to them. I just compiled the previous entries as the ones I think about immediately when someone asks me, what do you think is real? As I close this week's video, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on different creatures and beings really existing. More so on that, is there one that you originally thought was false, but after hearing the stories on them, now think that there is something more to it? Next week, I promise I'll be back to my normal style videos. Finally, I wanted to mention that after uploading the video a few weeks ago, I managed to set up a site where you can buy merchandise if you are interested. For the moment, you can buy various types of t-shirts as well as a cool looking coffee mug. I will put the link to that in the description if you are interested. If you haven't yet done so, please consider subscribing to my channel for similar content to this, and if you would, could you share my content with someone you know who might be interested in videos of this genre. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later!